Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to uncover the surprisingly complex world of red squirrel diets.
Fascinating.
You might think squirrels, they just eat nuts, right? But trust me, their culinary choices are way more fascinating than you would expect.
Yeah,
We've got a stack of research ready to go.
great.
So get ready to discover why red squirrels are the ultimate nutritional strategists.
It's true. It's easy to just picture, a squirrel with a simple acorn.
Right.
But these little creatures are masters of adapting their diet to what's available, and they're always aiming for the most nutritious options.
So before we get into the specifics, let's set the scene. What exactly are we talking about when we say red squirrel?
Yeah, so we're focusing on the Eurasian red squirrel. They're found all over northern Eurasia,
Oh, wow.
from really dense coniferous forests to parks and bustling cities.
Wow, city parks.
Yeah.
I guess that means their diet isn't just limited to what they find in the wild.
Exactly, exactly. But let's start with their more natural habitat. In coniferous forests, their diet is heavily focused on pine seeds, especially from Scots pine and Corsican pine.
So you're telling me their diet is directly shaped by the type of forest they live in?
Yeah.
What happens in areas with more oaks and beech trees?
Well, that's when acorns, beech nuts, and hazelnuts take center stage. Research has shown that in places like the Formby National Trust Reserve in England, squirrels depend heavily on these nuts.
Hmm.
They've even been observed enjoying yew seeds year-round,
Interesting.
picking them off the branches or foraging for them on the ground.
So they're flexible, but is it just a matter of eating whatever seeds they can find?
Not at all.
Okay.
They actually time their eating habits to match what's most nutritious at different times of the year.
Hmm.
For example, in the spring, when stored seeds are running low and new ones haven't fully developed,
Right.
they become remarkably adaptable eaters.
Wait, hold on. What do they eat when their favorite seeds aren't available?
Well, they switch to buds, shoots, and flowers.
Oh, wow.
Even caterpillars become fair game.
Caterpillars.
Yeah.
I never would guess that.
It's all about getting the nutrients they need, even if it means expanding their palate a bit.
It seems like they're constantly adjusting their strategy to get the most out of their environment.
Exactly. And as we move into summer and autumn, another fascinating element appears on their menu:
Okay.
fungi.
Fungi. Like mushrooms.
Yes.
I wouldn't have pegged them as mushroom fans.
You might be surprised how important mushrooms are to their diet, especially during those months. Studies have shown them actively foraging for all sorts of fungi, even storing them in the treetops for later. They're like little mushroom connoisseurs with their own hidden stash.
That's amazing. So their diet is way more diverse than just grabbing any seed they can find.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But their adaptability goes beyond just natural environments. Let's talk about what happens when squirrels encounter us, humans, in urban settings.
This is where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen people feeding squirrels in parks.
Right?
Do they actually become dependent on those handouts?
They certainly take advantage of the opportunity. Studies in city parks, like one in Warsaw, Poland, have shown that walnuts and hazelnuts provided by people become a major part of their diet.
So does that mean they stop foraging for their natural foods? Do they become lazy just because there's an easier option?
That's what's fascinating. They don't.
Really?
Even with a steady supply of nuts from humans,
Hmm.
they still exhibit their natural foraging behaviors, seeking out other seeds, shoots, and even those mushrooms we talked about.
So they're opportunistic, but not at the expense of their natural instincts.
Exactly.
They manage to find a balance between wild foraging and, let's call it, urban snacking.
Precisely. It shows a remarkable ability to adapt and thrive even in environments that are significantly altered by humans.
This is all so incredible. We've already learned so much about their diverse diet and the remarkable ability to adapt to different environments and seasons.
And we're just getting started. There's even more to discover about the weird and wonderful world of red squirrel diets.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What other surprising things do these squirrels eat?
Oh, prepare yourself for this one. Red squirrels aren't strict vegetarians.
Wait, what? You're telling me they eat meat? I always thought they were all about the nuts and seeds.
They are, mostly. But research shows they sometimes add some unexpected items to their diet. Things like bird eggs, young birds, even bones and antlers.
Bones and antlers. What could they possibly be getting from those?
It's likely about the calcium. Remember, red squirrels are all about optimizing their nutrient intake. And while plants are great sources of many nutrients, they may lack certain minerals. Bones and antlers offer a way uh, to supplement their calcium intake, especially when they're growing or nursing young.
So it's like their own natural calcium supplement.
Yeah.
Clever. Speaking of which, have you ever noticed squirrels stripping bark off trees? I always figured they were just being little rascals.
There's actually a purpose behind that behavior. They're not eating the bark itself, but rather targeting the cambium layer underneath.
The cambium layer.
It's the living tissue just below the bark,
Okay.
responsible for transporting nutrients and helping the tree grow.
Yeah.
And for a squirrel, it's a pretty tasty and nutritious snack.
So they're not just vandals. They're actually skilled foragers with a taste for tree innards. What else have these little guys got up their sleeve?
Believe it or not, studies have shown them eating soil and gravel.
Soil and gravel. Now that's just weird. Why would they do that?
It might seem strange, but scientists believe it's another way for them to get those essential minerals that might be lacking in their diet.
It's like they have an innate sense of what they need and how to find it, even if it means munching on gravel. So we've established they're incredibly resourceful. But is it just a free-for-all when it comes to seeds? Or are they picky about which ones they choose?
They're much more discerning than you might think. It's not just about what's available. It's about choosing the seeds that offer the best nutritional value for the least amount of effort.
Makes sense. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
What sorts of things do they consider when making their selections?
And energy content is key.
I
They want the most bang for their buck, so to speak. They also factor in things like the structure of the cone,
Okay.
favoring those that are easier to open and access the seeds.
So it's not just about taste, it's about efficiency too.
Right. Research has shown they also consider things like seed maturity and nitrogen content. And here's a really fascinating detail. They seem to avoid seeds that are high in certain chemical compounds, things called secondary metabolites.
Secondary metabolites, what
Yeah.
what are those?
Think of them as plant defense mechanisms. They're chemicals that plants produce to deter animals from eating them. And red squirrels, being the savvy eaters they are, can detect these compounds and choose seeds that are lower in them.
It's like they have a built-in system for quality control, ensuring they're only consuming the best seeds. It really highlights how sophisticated their foraging strategies are.
Exactly. Now, there's one more aspect of their diet that's important to discuss, and it involves us. Supplemental feeding.
You mean people leaving out food for squirrels?
Yes, it's common, especially in urban areas. And while often done with good intentions, it raises some interesting questions about how this practice impacts squirrel populations.
Okay, so we're talking about human intervention in their natural behavior. What have scientists found?
Studies show that supplemental feeding can lead to higher squirrel densities
Mm-hmm.
and potentially help them during times of natural food shortages.
So it's a good thing, right? We're helping them thrive.
Well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
While it might seem beneficial in the short term, research indicates supplemental feeding doesn't necessarily prevent natural population fluctuations. And in some cases, it can lead to increased competition between squirrels, potentially impacting their overall well-being.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. We might be disrupting their natural balance, even as we try to help.
Precisely. It highlights the importance of careful consideration and understanding the complex ecological dynamics before intervening in the lives of wild animals.
It's a reminder that even our seemingly small actions can have unintended consequences. So we've covered so much ground here, from the unexpected additions to their diet, like meat and minerals, to their ability to assess and select the best seeds, and even the complex implications of human intervention.
Yes. It really paints a picture of red squirrels as incredibly resourceful and adaptable creatures, constantly making choices to maximize their nutritional intake and thrive in a variety of environments.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what other secrets we could uncover if we dug even deeper into their world.
Right.
What else can science tell us about these amazing creatures?
Well, I think this deep dive really, reveals just how much more is going on than we might imagine when we see a squirrel, scampering around. It's easy to picture them with a single acorn,
Yeah,
but
right.
but they're constantly making choices based on, the time of year,
Hmm.
their specific habitats, even the characteristics of individual trees.
It's like they have this mental map of their territory, knowing exactly where to find the most nutritious and easiest to get snacks.
Yeah.
And if their go-to foods aren't available, they're not afraid to switch things up, adding buds, shoots, mushrooms, even insects to their diet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let's not forget how they've adapted to live alongside humans.
Yeah.
I mean, they've figured out how to make the most of city parks, incorporating food provided by people
Right.
while still maintaining their natural foraging instincts.
It's a testament to their resilience, wouldn't you say? They're not just surviving in these human-altered landscapes. They're thriving, and their flexible, opportunistic diet plays a huge role in that.
It really does. And their story, I think, offers a glimpse into something much bigger.
Okay.
As humans continue to change the world around us, how are other animal species adapting their diets and behaviors to cope?
That's a really interesting question. The red squirrel gives us a fascinating example of how animals can adapt and thrive, but it also makes you think about the challenges other species might be facing.
It certainly does. The red squirrel story, I think, is a reminder that the natural world is full of surprises, and that even the most familiar creatures can teach us about resilience and resourcefulness in a changing world.
Well, on that note, I think we've successfully navigated the fascinating world of red squirrel diets. From their unexpected love for mushrooms to their strategic seed selection and their ability to thrive in urban areas, it's been a journey full of surprises.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you, and hopefully the next time you see a red squirrel, you'll have a whole new appreciation for the clever choices behind every bite they take.
I know I will. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the wonders of the natural world.